Good evening, members of the public, the press, the members of the Pennsylvania Economy League. This evening's meeting is specifically convened for the Pennsylvania Economy League to present the results of the Phase 2 feasibility study of a possible school district merger between Millersburg Area School District and the Upper Dauphin Area School District. To the members of the public, this was presented at a joint board study session October 28th, and for the public to raise questions regarding the Phase 2 study. Many thanks to all in attendance, board members, administration, members of the public, including the press. Subsequent to this meeting, there will be another presentation by the Economy League next Monday, November 16th at 6:30 in the Millersburg Area High School Auditorium to the public. The public may also ask their questions following that presentation. For public comment, members of the public, please, I invite you to ask questions. Please step forward to the podium, this mic that I'm standing at, state your name, your municipality, and then ask your question. The Economy League will then respond if necessary. With that being said, I'm turning the presentation over to the Pennsylvania Economy League. Jerry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Price. We're practicing social distancing tonight, so I will remove my mask. Thank you very much, just for the purposes of clarity in the presentation. As Price said, my name is Jerry Cross with the Pennsylvania Economy League, and with me tonight is members of the Economy League staff and our associates who worked on this proposal in cooperation with the two districts. With me is Leanne Klayberger, our Chief Executive Officer, Adam Shumsky, our Senior Analyst, Dr. David DeVar, who is on the phone tonight. We also have our PEL associates for this study, Dr. Martin Hudax, the former Superintendent of Solanco School District, and Mr. James Thompson, a registered architect. Our agenda tonight is fairly simple. We do want to review the Phase 1 report in a recap form, just to bring everyone's memory back to date. It was a year ago that we presented the Phase 1 report to the joint boards. There'll also be an analysis of options 2, 3, and 5 based on the resolution passed by the joint boards last year. A fuller overview and more details on option 5, which is the recommended configuration for the merger. Reviewing facilities, curriculum, transportation, and the financial impacts. Phase 2 report also considered certain housekeeping items such as board consolidation and the next steps. Phase 2 report will be available for public review. To recap Phase 1, a review of the Phase 1 report that was presented last November. It was a feasibility study commissioned by the two districts, reviewing the potential for a consolidation of the two districts and the feasibility or suitability of buildings, the curriculum program, and the financial implications of such a merger. For buildings under Phase 1, we assessed the condition of the current facilities. We looked at potential realignments of grade structure, how the educational facilities location and facility use would affect the assessment of student capacity, versus student projected enrollments. We also looked at the impact of the consolidation upon the educational programs with the goal of enhancing the opportunities for elementary, middle, and high school. The financial implications were examined both historically and by projecting the financial conditions of the individual districts and reviewing different real estate tax modeling for the combined millage. Phase 1 answered the question, why merge now? The timing of the merger showed that today, declining enrollments and projected deficits on the future projections individually were critical in the report. We had a goal of maintaining and enhancing educational opportunities, both with opportunities for efficiencies and for managing the growth of future expenditures. Phase 1 report showed that both districts were well positioned now to consolidate. They both have similar educational philosophies and would offer and look forward to enhanced opportunities for all students. Phase 1 showed that the buildings themselves are in good condition to support a merged district, and both districts were judged to be financially stable and administratively lean and sound on both bases. The Phase 1 consolidation recommendation therefore centered around option 5. Option 5 was recommended. It is the use of the pre-K to 5 elementary school grades at Upper Dauphin area Loyalton campus, the placing of grades 6 to 8 in the middle school in the Millersburg area campus, with the consolidated high school located at the Upper Dauphin Elizabethville campus. Phase 1 showed that that was the best use of existing buildings. It gave us the best opportunity to provide more diverse instructional content. It also maintained and enhanced the K-12 course offerings presented by both districts, and it presented the greatest opportunities for economies of scale. Overall, when considering the impacts upon the curriculum, the current and projected enrollments, facility conditions and capacity, potential adaptive reuse for current and projected enrollments, the suitability of the educational program proved that option 5 was the best fit. Several other options were reviewed in the Phase 1 report and presented to the boards at a joint board meeting in November of 2019. At that board meeting, there was a joint board resolution presented and approved. The resolution stated that it is recommended that the joint boards of Millersburg area and Upper Dauphin area authorize the Pennsylvania Economy League to proceed with the Phase 2 of the feasibility study, focusing on merger option 5, with cost estimates of merger options 2 and 3 as outlined in the Phase 1 study. Phase 2 report tonight, we will go through the cost implications and some of the failings of option 2 and option 3, and then concentrate on option 5, satisfying the intent of the joint board resolution. Phase 2 study looked at option 5 in depth and provided the districts with details regarding the results of the consolidation. In particular, option 5 was reviewed for its buildings, the assessment of the current facilities and realignment of the grade structure, the curriculum, which analyzed the impact of the consolidation upon educational programs for the elementary, middle, and high schools. Transportation times and routes were analyzed. Those costs and possible future funding was reviewed in the report. We also conducted rough and preliminary projections of student transportation scenarios and times based on the proposed building configuration and the current student population. The tax rate was analyzed for financial implications, and a cost savings was developed as a recurring cost savings for all the options. And we reviewed collective bargaining and salary schedules as part of option 5 in Phase 2. As you can see here, when you look at the 3 options that the board asked us to look at, 2, 3, and 5, when you take a high-level view, and the report goes into some more detail, obviously, but from a high-level view, there is a comparison of each of these options on this slide. You'll note that option 2 has the greatest savings on a recurring basis, closely followed by option 5 and option 3 coming in last. However, our recommendations are not based solely on the financial considerations or on recurring financial savings. In fact, option 2 would have the larger estimated recurring savings, more so than option 5. However, let's look at the reasons why the recurring savings or financial considerations were not a primary reason for selecting the particular option number 5. Why would we not use option 2? As a refresher memory, in the upper corner of the slide, the upper right corner of the slide, we listed the potential scenarios for building use and configurations for the grades. In option 2, all students would attend Upper Dauphin facilities, campuses for Upper Dauphin. They would be the pre-K to 4 at Loyalton, the 5 to 8 at Loyalton, and the 9 to 12 at the Upper Dauphin area high school. There would be no students in Millersburg facilities. For option 2, lack of capacity to suitably house those students for the next several years was the main reason for not recommending option 2. Furthermore, when you look at the enhanced opportunities for students in option 5, we are recommending a pre-K to 5, a 6th to 8th grade separate configuration. The physical layout of the Loyalton facility today has a very clear physical separation between grades K to 4 and grades K to 5, contrary to the recommended pre-K to 5 grade alignment. There is a physical separation between grades 5 and 4, which would put in proximity to grades 6 and 8 those 5th grade students in the middle school, as opposed to having a pre-K to 5 situation with a separate facility. To review the capacity problem with option 2, there will be a capacity problem for the K to 4 building through the estimated projected enrollments for school year 2028 to 2029. The report looked at this capacity issue using an average class size of 22 students. At that class size, the elementary school site has insufficient capacity to house the projected enrollments in the combined K to 4 enrollments in fall of 2021, the earliest this merger would happen. 8 years later, by the fall of 2028, enrollment projections indicate that the combined enrollment will be over 550 students in the elementary side. That is over 100% of the stated capacity in the Loyalton building 8 years from now. Option 3 was reviewed. Option 3, as you recall, had essentially 2 attendance areas. It utilized all the buildings currently utilized except for Linkerville Elementary. And it required 2 separate attendance areas with K to 8 in both Upper Dauphin area and Millersburg, with also a combined high school at the Upper Dauphin area high school. Option 3 creates duplication problems. It creates duplication, which leads to excess cost. There's a very large concern about equity of resources. Under option 3, there must be a duplication of curriculum, textbooks, experience of the teaching faculty. Those things must be duplicated when you have 2 attendance areas. That means there'll be consolidation and a redistribution of the human, educational, and financial resources between the separate K to 8 facilities. Perhaps not as obvious, this is not a status quo option for students. On its face, it would seem that if everyone maintains a current building arrangement, it would have less of an impact on students. We don't see it that way. It's not status quo simply because attendance areas would have to be redrawn to maintain equity of resources and to handle those students that live on the borders of the current district, depending on where they would go under a consolidated district. More so, attendance areas would have to be reviewed more frequently as population shifts change, and it would be necessary to maintain equity in instruction and resources. So largely for options of equity of resources and the loss of economies of scale, option 3 just was not a recommended option. That leads us to the final recommendation in the Phase 2 report, which was an analysis by the board resolution of option merger 5. Under option 5, the pre-K to 5 would be housed at the Upper Dauphin area Loyalton campus. Grades 6 to 8 would be at the Millersburg area middle school, and again, a consolidated high school at Elizabethville. Option 5 adapts comfortably to the pre-K to 2 and the 3 to 5 intermediate grade configuration, resulting with 1 principal on each side of the facility. Capacity needs are judged to be best met with this option now and into the future. Overall, under option 5, the K to 12 curriculum can be structured to meet the needs of students at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, which will bring together the best instructional practices presently used within each district to enhance student instruction. Oh, the slides, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, those live streaming, I think I recapped it pretty well. There is the slide. Likewise, there are programs and courses unique to each district that could be offered in the merged district, increasing educational opportunities for students. And finally, the financial impact of option 5 gave us reduced administrative costs and improved economies of scale. The expected outcomes for student development under option 5. We show a positive distinction at each elementary level, at each educational level, that is more thoroughly explained in the report. Option 5, we believe, creates the best configuration to meet the needs and expected outcomes for each educational level, elementary, middle, and high school. We also feel that the needs of special education students can be met at grade appropriate settings under option 5. The curriculum advantages of a merged option 5. Consolidating will provide the opportunity to identify, develop, and implement the best educational offerings and instructional practices from each district. By grouping the students by elementary, middle, and high school, there will be an opportunity to consolidate materials that each district already has, as well as pooling resources developed at each district. Grouping the grade level together creates opportunities for grade level teachers to collaborate on a regular daily basis. It's important to note that the human and curricular resources for special education students can be accessed more efficiently. This enables specialized instructional support to be done more effectively. The transportation analysis was performed between the district, Upper Dauphin area, Millersburg area, and Adam Shumsky of our staff. I will take a break now, and Adam will lead you through the next 3 slides regarding the transportation analysis of the Phase 2 report.
Good evening. As Jerry alluded to, our report included a thorough analysis of the impact of a district merger, both on transportation costs as well as transportation times and student transportation times. Let me first just note a few items from our analysis with regards to costs. Overall, the post-merger district will have a larger transportation network than the combined pre-merger totals. And that's primarily due to the location of facilities on the western and eastern edges of the combined district, particularly for grades K through 5 and for 6 through 8. This larger transportation network within the purview of state subsidy calculations will lead to higher formula costs and ultimately higher subsidies as well. The ultimate impact, net impact on the district taxpayer really comes down to procurement. Being a larger district provides more negotiation leverage with a goal of paying based on state formula. Upper Dauphin currently pays on state formula. They've been successful in bidding at state formula. Millersburg, being a smaller district, has tried mightily, but has not been able to procure transportation contracts based on state formula, just with reduced negotiation leverage. So the resulting impact will likely be a net cost to taxpayers similar to today. We do identify potential savings in the range of $75,000 to $150,000 in this preliminary analysis, but again, that really comes down to the procurement cycle. Multiple vendors will likely help keep costs low, which we do see in Upper Dauphin currently splitting their routes between 2 vendors. Our report also notes a important year 1 subsidy lag. This is usually of little consequence to districts, but a given school district is always receiving state transportation subsidies for the prior year. So the first year of a merger, the merged district will essentially have the greater expenditures with a larger network, transportation network, while only receiving the subsidies from the final year of pre-merger operations. That year one cost is necessarily the difference between subsidy amounts post-merger. We estimate that to be about $360,000 in year one. We do identify that as an item to potentially include in state-funded merger assistance. The majority of our chapter on transportation, of course, focuses on the impacts on students. The preliminary analysis both includes pre-merger and post-merger data. The preliminary analysis for a post-merger transportation network was built by Dauphin staff using new student transportation software that they've procured. Millersburg area provided anonymized student address data to facilitate the analysis. And the preliminary analysis shows that 50% of students would have bus runs of less than 30 minutes and 90% less than 60 minutes, AM and PM. Of course, the students most impacted by the merger, as you can imagine, is based on geography. The students that are traveling farther to a new facility, which would include Millersburg area elementary, Millersburg area high school, and Upper Dauphin middle school. The transportation analysis did assume grade level specific bus runs for the post-merger district. This is a notable departure because there is some level of grade level mix on both Millersburg and Upper Dauphin bus runs today. But we do stress here today and in the report that this is very much a first draft of potential transportation network post-merger to identify areas of focus to improve financial impact, but mostly the student times. We do believe collaboration between the districts and even with its vendors can improve routes. There are other ways to improve student times. We do believe that adding runs will improve student times, potentially using smaller capacity vehicles for the more rural areas, and potential analysis of what a hub concept would look like with students filling buses in Millersburg proper at the current middle and high school facility to fill those buses and get them moving along Route 209 to their new facilities quicker than our preliminary analysis.
Thank you, Adam. The board resolution did require a financial projections and analysis of option 5. When the report has an extensive chapter on the financial results of a consolidation, but in an overview that's important, we held the Upper Dauphin level of property taxes at the 18.8775 millage rate existing today. This millage rate is the lower of the two millage rates. It's not to say that it would not be lower, but we are using the lowest rate available today to project the real estate impact. It's important to understand that when you consolidate a district, there can only be one property tax rate levied on all properties within the new district. You cannot have separate millage levels. The millage that you select has impacts on the total revenue available because of the uniformity clause of the state constitution. This table shows you the result of the revenue adjustment using the real estate tax rate of 18.8775. That results in over a $570,000 reduction in available tax revenue to the consolidated district. And when you look at that over the 2019-2020 millage rather, you see a reduction in net revenues to $34,426,000. However, when you consider the estimated savings under option 5, the net impact of a consolidation against the estimated reduction in revenues would still have a surplus in the budget of more than $475,000. Now, it's important to understand the recurring nature of savings from the consolidation also reduces the future annual growth of expenses, something both districts cannot necessarily do on their own because they have to provide duplicative services as standalone districts. Reducing that future impact on expenditure growth will have a very moderating impact on future real estate tax increases. The report showed the recurring savings coming from several areas. A reduction in personnel. There would be a reduction in administrative, teacher, and support staff of approximately 40 positions over time. That is a projected personnel cost reduction of $3.1 million for the salaries and benefits, including pension costs. There are one-time costs that reported in the report, about $133,000 in one-time make-ready expenses for renovation and curricular materials for option 5 rather. And as Adam pointed out, there is a $360,000 subsidy lag, which we expect would be available to be reimbursed by the Commonwealth under its merger assistance funding. There will also have to be a new collective bargaining agreement negotiated between the representatives of the teachers and the consolidated district. Following the acceptance of Phase 2 report and consideration by the public and by the joint boards, the next steps are fairly evident and available today. The question as to why vote now, you will need time to plan the transition. Obviously, the sooner the boards vote to consolidate, the more time there is for superintendents and administrators to plan for a seamless and beneficial consolidation. Consolidation of school districts is a function approved by the local boards and then ultimately by the State Board of Education. This merger will have to go before the State Board of Education with supporting materials provided by the districts to identify and explain why it would be in the best interest of the students to consolidate these two districts. State Board of Education would need time to process that. They meet quarterly, and you have to get on their calendar for them to review it. Ideally, you would see Department of Education approval sometime before February of 2022. So the next steps are simple. There was a joint presentation to the school boards on October 28th. Tonight is the first of 2 public meetings in respective districts. And the third next step would be a joint meeting of the school boards to consider and vote on the merger. That date has not been determined. I would ask members of the audience, or Price, if you want to come up, we simply take questions now on the presentation or on the report if you reviewed it. I would ask that you come up the aisles and address the center mic, please.
So with that said, and seeing no one stepping forward to ask questions, I'd like to thank Jerry Cross and his team for presenting this evening. For the public, I encourage you to, if you do have questions unable to attend tonight, please submit your questions in writing to each respective school's administration, and we can address those in future meetings or at future board meetings or future public meetings. As Jerry mentioned, there is another public presentation by the Economy League next Monday at the Millersburg Auditorium at 6:30. That is November 16th, 6:30 at the Millersburg Auditorium. So with that being said, thank you very much again to the Economy League for everything they've done. Thank you for folks in attendance. Thank you for Chosen News Network for broadcasting this. Very good, nice job, and thank you very much. With that said, please stay safe, stay healthy, drive safely on your way home, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.
Thank you.